Hi guys, Flatmeister here. I've got peak levels of retardation here for you. This, like, when a controversy or a story comes out about game journalists, they just ramp it up even higher with just that added level of stupidity and incompetence. And, fucking God. So, you might be wondering, what on earth could Flatmeister be this pissed off? Oh, believe me, I can get more pissed off. So, I found an archived link, and I'm going to put the archived link to the article, not the direct link to it, because they don't deserve your clicks. So, Rock Paper Shotgun, again, another one of these regressive outlets. An article by John Walker. And that name might ring a bell because I did two videos. Or I did one video about him in which he said that House Party is a misogynistic pile of shit and you probably shouldn't play it. A game that you shouldn't play because he doesn't like it. We get this cancerous fucking article. Now Ubi's opened the door. Can we have our skip boss fight button? Honestly, fucking hell, man. Ubisoft made a fascinating announcement this week. They revealed that the latest Assassin's Creed is to add a discovery tour mode, removing all the combat and challenges from the game to let players just freely experience their in-depth recreation of ancient Egypt. I mean, well, other games have done a mode like, well, Valve did that. They did that with Left 4 Dead and Portal. They had a developer commentary mode where you would play through. You would walk through the level and activate that little icon, and it would tell you, and that's cool to have that mode, like a developer commentary mode, like telling you, oh, here's how we recreated this. These are what we wanted to do for this specific scene. Like, it's not really a fascinating announcement. But that's stupid doing it in an Assassin's Creed game, because when you open up parts of the map, you can then explore the entire map without combat. It's fascinating to me because it's a big deal. And goodness me, it shouldn't be a big deal. But you regressive journalists are making it a big deal. Because developers should not be trying to appease the critics. They should be trying to serve the consumers, the gamers, the people that actually buy the fucking product. That buy the game and appreciate the game. Appreciate the medium. Oh my God. Because games should be delighted to include modes that remove all their difficulty and challenge, and players should cheer when they hear about it. No, like, yeah, it's alright if it, like I said, if it's an added extra in the game, but it's not something to write home about. It's nothing, it's not. Oddly enough, a lot of players don't cheer. Yeah, because they want to play the game. They want to get lost in a story. They want to be challenged, and they want to be tested on their skills, eye-hand coordination. So yeah, oddly enough, not a lot of players don't cheer. In fact, people can get awfully angry about it. Since the announcement, I've seen on Twitter a combination of people declaring, hooray, I'm interested in playing Assassin's Creed for the first time in years, alongside others pointing towards those utterly furious that it demeans their hobby, cheapens games, and most heinous of all, lets in the riffraff. I say bring on the riffraff. And so John Walker proceeds in this article to this is basically a hate piece. This is a hate click piece. It's a stupid puff piece.
Why you gotta be such a bitch? Hey, no.
Hey.
I'm not playing dumb here. I'm not being coy. I know an awful lot of what's made gaming culture such a miserably toxic environment over the last few years is deeply wrapped up in subjects like this. And those who spread the toxicity are those most likely to be on the side of condemning gaming options that remove challenge, that make... Have a fucking full stop, man. Jesus Christ. That make the hobby more accessible to the crowds. And so, yeah, this fucking puff piece is just to attack his very own readers. Attack gamers. Because if game developers... Yes, it will cheapen the game. Because if game developers listen to you, the loudest voice, because you've got... You work for a game site. You have pull... I mean, a lot of these websites are how a lot of these companies get voted for their awards, like the Spike TV, AVG Game Awards. Surely it should be based on... A lot of these gaming sites have a lot of pull in the industry, and they shouldn't. It irritates me that a lot of these gaming sites are the ones that vote for which studio should win an award for Game of the Year. I'm like, shouldn't it be what the gamers decide, what the consumers decide? I've got no problem with gaming being more accessible to people, but there are different genres in the gaming industry. There's different genres. Sports games appeal to certain people, fighting games, shooting games. But at the same time, here goes, make the hobby more accessible to the crowds. But at the same time, I'm not going to allow that sewage to pollute my opinions and my delight in expressing those opinions, and I've long been arguing that gaming can be a far better place if the industry would only introduce the skip boss fight button.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Please, game developers, do not listen to these people. Do not listen to John Walker. I bet he was cheering when House Party got banned from Steam. Misogynistic piece of pile of shit has been pulled from Steam. Yeah. Yes, of course. Skip Boss Fight is a totem for my larger point here, and it's a title under which I'd include Ubi's recent announcement, despite their rather awkwardly trying to wrap it all up in a pretense at wanting to be educational. What the fuck is that word? It's the spirit such an option captures, and it's one that I think the industry would do well to breathe deeply into their souls. Yeah, surely that discovery mode would get a little old pretty quick. You're going to want to... Right, take for instance an Assassin's Creed game. What makes the exploration interesting is you're running along, because sometimes when you're playing an Assassin's Creed, you have tunnel vision. You go, you know when you get highway hypnosis, you're like driving along and you just go, yeah. Just, you get in a trance because you're just running in a straight line. Well, what makes that interesting in Assassin's Creed, you're running away from people, and then you see something glimmer or that catches your eye, like a collectible that's shimmering, and you go, oh, what was that? So you go and fight off all the people, and then you get the collectible or a side quest or something, and then that makes you want to explore this little nook and cranny that you missed. Just running along, going, if you were going along with a microscope across the entire world in discovery mode, that's going to get pretty old pretty quickly. Whereas if you're playing the game properly, you're more engrossed in the world. This is ground I've covered before, and each time there's been a very similar reaction. In 2009, I suggested it was daft that I'm not able to just skip ahead while playing a game like I could in a book, film, or TV show. Of course that's daft. Yeah, that is fucking daft. Why would you do that? Most games now are very strong narrative-driven games. Why would you want to skip ahead? Because then you're going to complain and write an article going, oh, I used the skip function on this game and I don't know what's going on, even though it was stupid to skip ahead because now the story doesn't make sense, which is why I'm complaining that the story doesn't make sense because I skipped and my brain just fucking explodes. I wrote back in 2012 about the idea of being able to skip fights as a response to the despicable response to BioWare's Jennifer Hepler suggesting that the game combat should be skippable. Of course it should. No, it shouldn't. The purpose of combat or any action in a game, games are supposed to be interactive. The player is supposed to feel like they are immersed in a world and that their choices matter and that you are interacting within that world and that you are making choices that affect the narrative. You're playing within the narrative, interacting with characters. The story gives the combat context. It gives it purpose. The story gives combat or any particular action purpose. Action gives the story purpose. Here's a story. Oh, some bad guys. You've got to fight them because they're going to destroy the world. I'm going to stop them from destroying the world. Doing the actions, killing the enemies. I've killed these enemies. Oh, but there's still this leader of these bad guys. And the story telling, oh, there's still this bad guy still left. Well, I better go off and kill him. So it's giving the player, oh, I'm going to go kill him. Now I've killed him. Hooray, you've beat the game. Those two go hand in hand. What about Spec Ops The Line? Fantastic game. It was a third-person shooter, and I'm going to go into spoilers here. Spec Ops The Line was a fantastic game. It was a third-person cover-based shooter set in Dubai after this incident. This sort of catastrophe happened, and refugees are still trapped. American soldiers are still trapped in the city of Dubai. All these sandstorms happening. And so you play as this character in this sort of small special forces squad. You go in to find out what's happened. This captain of this previous battalion that stayed behind for the refugees. And the game really subverts even in the loading screens it says about cognitive dissonance, and Walker's descent into madness, all the different elements within that game, within the story, the level design, everything about that game was really meticulously detailed. Now, if you were to take away all of the combat and just have you walking through the desert, through those levels, up to the next cutscene, that's going to get pretty fucking old pretty quickly. Well, that story would not be able to exist without having the combat in. The fact there's the cognitive dissonance of, oh, I'm being attacked by enemies. Like the game developers have gone over the years of gamers playing shooting games. Your brain has sort of been hardwired to, or you see an enemy pointing a gun at you, you press these buttons, you shoot the enemy. But it subverts your way of thinking of, I'm shooting fellow American soldiers. This feels very strange. This feels weird. And I highly recommend, if you've played Spec Ops The Line, go back and play it again. And when you think Conrad is talking to Walker, the character he plays, he's actually speaking to you, the player. It's a very, very cool aspect of the game. So yeah, if you were to take away all the shooting from that, it would be a fucking hollow experience. It'd be very boring, just trudging through the sand. The shooting, the combat gives that story purpose. That story would not be able to exist without the combat. He goes, last year I talked about how deeply peculiar is the perceived notion that people have to be good at games for them to be properly enjoyed. Well, of course, because if you're shit at a game, you're going to get impatient with the game, and thus it's going to affect your judgment of the game and your opinion of the game. You go, this game is really hard. Of course you have to be fucking good. So John Walker, you are absolutely an idiot if you're saying, of course they don't. People have to be good at games for them to be properly enjoyed. And in light of this seismic, that shouldn't be, it shouldn't be. Stop with the in brackets shit. Just, in light of this seismic announcement regarding Arse Creed Unity, I want to reiterate it once more, let other people play games their way. Developers have always made games available for you to play the way you want. You can always, in an Assassin's Creed game, you can always, using the parkour game mechanics, you can run away from enemies. You don't have to fight them. I bet you could play, unless obviously specific objectives tell you that, you have to eliminate these specific enemies, or you have to assassinate these targets. You can play Assassin's Creed the way you want. You do not have to kill all the enemies that surround you. Use the other gameplay mechanics that the developer has provided you with, the parkour mechanics. And this line cracks me up here. The reaction is one of us and them, and a desire to keep the them from getting near the us. That's quite a lot of projection there, John Walker. All of these game journalists, they are the ones that have created the us and them narrative. You attacked gamers, you attacked your very audience. Gamers are a misogynistic, toxic pile of shit. Fuck you. You can call me toxic. I'm not. I might be hyperbolic in my videos. I might rant and rave and be the stereotypical angry gamer. Ah! I'm not. I'm a really cool dude. I'm a nice guy. Yeah, you've created the Division. Journalists, video game journalists, you are the ones that created the Division. You've been divisive. You've created the us and them narrative. And so now gamers don't trust you. Gamers don't like you. Gamers hate you. Rightfully so. And so that's why this us and them is become more strengthened now. You know you're dying. You know that your websites are dying because you're parasites. And these game developers, they trust actual gamers, people that buy the games. So that's why they, like I've said in previous videos, they're approaching internet personalities, online personalities, influencers. They go directly to these people because they know that these people have more reach. Gamers trust other gamers over the opinions of game journalists. Gamers trust other gamers. If one of my friends say, "Oh, don't play this game, it's not particularly good," I'm like, "Oh, okay, I won't buy it straight away. Then I might wait until it's on sale or something." You know, I'm paying a price that I find appropriate for the quality of the content of X game. I trust other gamers' opinions over journalists. And that's why your sites are dying, because no one's clicking on your article. Hence why I'm on an archived link of your article. I ain't giving you ad revenue. Rock, paper, shotgun. So we'll continue. Them are all ordinary, inexpert, mediocre, or worst of all, new. But let's reject that silliness immediately and embrace the idea that welcoming the outsider in is always how society broadens and blooms. What is with this narrative of the gamers are, "Oh no, not a new person"? A lot of gamers, you underestimate gamers. A lot of gamers are very open to helping fellow gamers. If they're new at a game, they'll go, "Oh, we'll give you tips and tricks." That's why a lot of these forums, like Game FAQs, a lot of those forums are other gamers pooling their resources and knowledge of a game, and someone goes, "Oh, I've got a problem with this," and person responds, "Oh, try doing this." "Yeah, I've run out into that problem." You underestimate gamers, John Walker, so you're an idiot. Never mind that there's plenty of people already here who are looking for different and more varied experiences, and there is plenty of different and varied games and different genres. Like I've said, I bought a Nintendo Switch recently and have been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild as much as I possibly can. It's an extraordinary game, vast, intricate, and ludicrously alive. But because it's a Zelda game, hell, because it's a Nintendo game, it has boss fights. "Oh no, John Walker doesn't like boss fights." Ah! And I can do them. They're much easier than the average. I still hate them. Boss fights exist to give the player a feeling of, "Holy shit, this is bigger than all of the standard, the bog standard cannon fodder that I've been up against previously. I'm going to have to be on the ball here with this boss. I've got to learn its attack patterns, know what its movements are, know when to dodge, know when to block, when to parry and attack. How do I move around this level design of where the arena of this boss fight? How do I maneuver around? What do I use to my advantages? What are the disadvantages? What's going to bite me in the arse in this boss fight?" That's why players enjoy boss fights, because it's challenging. Like the game is stepping it up a notch and going, "Ooh." I hate them for me because I find them incongruous to the rest of the game they're in. There are exceptions, games where a boss is in fact a sequence that asks you to imply all you've learned so far, the gaming equivalent of a comprehension test, and those work so well. But they're rare like rubies, and it's almost always just a difficulty spike. Just like what I said, I've just explained why boss fights exist. Like just what I said, employ what you've learned so far, but also throwing a spanner in the works. It's testing your abilities and getting you to, Dark Souls, for instance. Each enemy feels like a boss in of itself, because it's got different, some of those sort of standard enemies, they can kill you quite quickly, unless you're not hot on your tails. And then once you've learned their attack patterns, you go, "Oh, well, I've upgraded my weaponry." Just running past them all, and then on to the next boss, or the next different enemy. But I also hate them for other people. Those who aren't as good at games as I am. And he puts in bold, bright red writing, "I am average good at games." Why is it a link? What does it fucking take you to? Right, click on that. For whom I know, these are not boss fights, but endpoints. They are massive, impassable obstacles between them and the fun they could be having afterwards. Why are you downplaying the fact that a boss fight... Why are you saying that a boss fight isn't fun? Stop with this virtue signaling of, oh, what about the poor people that can't fucking kill the boss? I'm stuck on Dark Souls 2. Some people might laugh at me. Every time I die, I go, right, I'm obviously doing something wrong here. I need to perhaps grind for some souls and invest in some leveling up. Or maybe buy some items that might help me through this bit. Maybe upgrade some weapons and armour. I give it a break and then I'll come back with a fresh mindset. I go, right, I'm going to get past this. I'm going to try this approach. And then I progress a bit further. I don't hate the game. Stop with this, oh, poor people that aren't good at games. Well, that's why there are numerous genres. New people, their tastes will change from past experiences. I go, oh, well, I'm not good at hack and slash games, so I am good at hack and slash games, by the way. What if a person goes, oh, I'm not good at hack and slash games? Well, yeah, I didn't have a good experience with so-and-so game. I'm not going to play that anymore, so I'll try this genre. I've long hated boss fights, as chronicled perennially on these pages, because their difficulty spikes as game design. They're something that should be rooted out by beta testing, somehow being given feature status. And yes, for some reason, people love them so, but just as many, if not more, can't stand them. Dark Souls wouldn't be a bloody genre if people didn't love a boss fight. But while it falls just short of selling 7 billion copies, it's inarguably that there are people who do not enjoy boss fights. And when your game is made of boss fights tied together with string, then yes, it's plenty idiotic for a hater to buy it. Here's the magic though. If games had a button that let you skip past these incongruous segments, so you could carry on enjoying the game on the other side, that button could just as easily not be pressed. It's just idiotic. Why is there a picture of the end boss of Half-Life 1? It really wasn't that hard. The argument against the skip button, the tourist mode, the skippable combat, the fast forwarder level, all these ideas that keep coming up is always the same. It's always, but someone might press them. People are annoyed because if developers then implement that feature and then, like I said, if someone then skips and then goes, oh, now the game doesn't make sense. Oh, I skipped ahead, but I'm not able to backtrack. It doesn't have a reload last checkpoint. Like the Telltale games, you fuck up, or not fuck up, because that's what makes those games, those adventure games interesting, is that your experience will always be different to other people. There's no such thing as messing up. Telltale games don't. They save your progress after you've made a decision. So-and-so will remember that. John Walker will remember that. But someone might press them. It's not an enormously strong argument, all things considered. It's one I'd like to try to counter. Yes, they might. Okay, it's slightly more nuanced than that, although it's never actually expressed truthfully. The argument tends to go, but someone other than me might press them, and then they'd get to see a bit of the game that was meant only for the deserving champions, because the real nub of it is, it's about exclusivity. It's about keeping the thems, the riffraff, the outsider out. This section of the game, this is special to me, and only those as great as I am. I deserve this bit of the game. Those weaklings do not. Really? Well, that's the whole point in game design and storytelling, is if you've gotten past a certain bit, like a challenging part of the game, and the game rewards you with an interesting plot twist or something in the story, the game is rewarding that player to continue playing. That's what the game design is. Developers are rewarding the player with well done on beating that section. Keep playing. With here's this plot twist that's happened just after you've defeated that wave of bosses. So it would be a bit. People would feel like, well, I just fucking worked my ass off beating that tough wave of enemies in this area. I've earned this progression in the story. Whereas if someone can just go skip, it's like, well, you haven't fully. People are angry because they're annoyed for those people that are potentially skipping the game. Like, you're not fully appreciating the game for what it has to offer. You're not fully immersing yourself in the game. You're just being a passive observer. It's being a passive observer sitting there going, skip, skip, skip. Gosh, it's an ugly way of thinking, isn't it? People aren't saying we want noobs out. It's not keeping the riffraff or the outsider or the thems out. It's not. Because if a game developer then gives it that, and then these SJWs are going to demand even more, that will then affect the overall quality of a game. I mean, take for instance Overwatch. I made a video previously where Jeff Kaplan, the creative director of Overwatch, is complaining, oh, toxic gamers, we're having to create tools to prevent toxicity, and that's halting development of the game. How about you just work on the game, work on new modes, work on a story mode rather than the CGI shorts? Watch my previous video, basically. And so utterly idiotic too, because it requires the mental gymnastics of somehow believing that one's own isolated experience of a game is cheapened, lessened, impacted in any conceivable way by the isolated experience of someone else playing that game. It is the transference of one's ego onto the game itself. It's not a healthy way to go about experiencing life. Yeah, it's not a healthy way to go about experiencing life, skipping everything, thinking you can just get the easy way out. That's not a healthy way of experiencing life. Thinking you can just press one button to go, skip. Darling, will you marry me? Oh, skip. I pronounce you husband and wife. Oh, skip. Other gamers, when people go, I want to be able to skip. You know, like I said, people are going, yes, it is cheapening your experience. Other gamers want you to be fully immersed in the game and experience what the game has to offer in terms of gameplay, immersion, storyline. And so other gamers can then have a conversation and talk and share, like, oh, what were your best bits about the game? Oh, I really enjoyed this bit. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was really cool. This is what John Walker wants. He wants it all snipped. All the game just snipped away until there's bare bones, a husk left. The better argument, although it's a lot less frequently uttered, is, but I might press the button, and here things get a lot more tricky. I've never heard anyone say, but I might press the button. Never heard anyone say that. No screenshots of any tweets of anyone saying, but I might press the button. And here things get a lot more tricky. How many's the time you regretted pressing the hint button? How about you write the sentence like this? How many times have you regretted pressing the hint button on your favourite mobile puzzle game? Do a spell check on it. Like, that doesn't sound right. How often have you felt that incredible sense of achievement of having succeeded at a part of a game that challenged you, so which you just know you'd have skipped 3 times back if you had the option? Yes, there's a concern. Yes, all the time. It's a feedback loop. Plenty of gamers feel that adrenaline rush, that release of endorphins when you've that sigh of relief when you've got that much health left, and the boss has that much health left, and you're rolling around and trying to dodge out of the way, and you get that last attack in, and you go, that sense of achievement. That is what makes gaming great. So no, I wouldn't skip 3 tries back if you had the option. Yes, there's the concern, but it's not a concern about a game, it's a concern about yourself. So even to use this far more valid worry that you might spoil your own experiences when offered a tempting shiny red button is an exercise in unacceptable selfishness. Deary me. How dare you, gamers, selfish cunts. So yes, people do have a valid worry for that it might spoil their experience when offered a shiny red button, because when SJWs and that go, oh, this game is too hard. Wolfenstein with the video game journalist difficulty setting. What, do you want the Nazis' bullets to be made of water? They've got little water cannons and you don't take any damage at all. Achtung! Why is this man not dying from my water cannon, yeah? It wouldn't surprise me if someone made for the new Wolfenstein game made a water pistol mod for that game. I've probably just given you ideas. Make that mod. So yeah, when these SJWs going, oh, the game's too hard, give us a skip button, and then the developers do that, and they've wasted resources in investing time and resources and money into developing this feature, and then you go, And then you'll find something else to complain about. Like I said, you're going to want the thing to be a shallow, bare bones game that it's got barely any substance to it. Fuck me. God! Is an exercise in unacceptable selfishness. Gamers pay for the games. They're consumers. They pay hard-earned cash. Most gamers aren't swimming in money. They want plenty of content to keep them occupied for many hours, as well as have good quality content that they'll enjoy. So fuck you saying an exercise in unacceptable selfishness. Fuck you, John Walker. Because that shiny button becomes the thing that allows a multitude more people than you to enjoy their experience of playing this game, and refusing it because of your own inability to self-regulate isn't a good enough argument. There are obvious solutions, the most simple being the option to have such a button switched off for a new game and impossible to switch on without restarting. No, just have it in the options or the extras. Perfect, right? No, it's not. Those without the self-control to impulse use it can remove the option. Those who just want to enjoy the game differently than you can have it on. Done. Then, if that weren't enough, and it is, there can be reward mechanisms. Skip the boss and you'll not get the sparkly new sword. That, ironically, will make things a little easier, but don't think about it. Or maybe, to embrace the ugly, icky attitude, you get a different ending, and those who need to feel better about themselves than others because of their inability to better press some buttons in time with a cartoon get to see the proper ending. Wow, way to diminish and really deconstruct and downplay the contents of a game because of their ability to better press some buttons in time with a cartoon get to see the proper ending. Man, not the dirty scumbag ending for paupers and the weak. You are a dirty scumbag. Why are you a games journalist? Aren't you great with your ending? Imagine how many people will stare at you in the streets. He really has such a fucking contempt and resent to gamers. So hooray for Ubisoft. Hooray for taking all the challenge and difficulty from a game for people who prefer games without challenges and difficulty. Hooray for skipping the boring bits to enjoy more of the fun. Hooray for people being allowed to enjoy a game in a different way from you. Hooray for the riffraff. Man, you are such an antagonistic cunt. Like I said, I've got no problem with, the discovery mode in the new Assassin's Creed game, but that's gonna get old. Like, if people are, like, I'd certainly be interested. I mean, I did it with Left 4 Dead and Portal. I went through the developer commentary because I'm interested in the behind the scenes, with game development, how they do this, how they do that, how do they program this. Them spitballing all of the different ideas that they had before they finally settled on this character model of a certain enemy. I've got no problem, but that mode will get old. But having a skip function is because you know that SJWs can never be pleased. I mean, geez, imagine Pac-Man. Imagine Pac-Man if you weren't going around the maze. Like, I'll skip the instead it's like an RPG dialogue choice game. Like, Pac-Man's going, "Hey guys, why are you chasing me? Who will you're in our home. You're going around and eating up all of our food that we've laid around our home, and so we're trying to get rid of you. You can't be in our home. Get out." "Oh, well, I didn't know that. I was just hungry and eating food. I didn't realise this was yours. Blue Ghost, why are you so depressed and sad?" "Oh, well, it's just because, you keep stealing all our food." "Hey, Red Ghost, why are you so angry?" It's because you keep eating all our food." Okay, I suppose I'll just take my leave then. Bye." Like, imagine Pac-Man being like that. It'd be fucking cringy. Jeez, this video is long. Man, this is fucking stressful. Let me guys know what you think of the let's have a button to skip the bosses. Boy! Tell me what you think of the of the discovery mode in Assassin's Creed, and also develop a commentary mode or extras in games. I think it's something to be appreciated. So yeah, do all that like and subscribe stuff. I'm Splatmeister. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.
Did you ever not make lie? Did you?